What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Ty and Bob pod here at golongtd.com, the Substack app, your email inbox, wherever you read, wherever you listen. Holy heck, I greatly appreciate you. This is season number 5 for Go Long. I launched this site in November of 2020 during that pandemic season. So it's never lost on me how unbelievable it is that so many folks out there invest not only $8 a month, $50 a year, but invest their time to read a feature story, to listen to an hour and a half, 2 hour podcast with myself and Bob McGinn, to consume everything we have going on here at Go Long. So thanks so much. No sponsors, no ads, none of that. We are powered by you. If you enjoy Go Long, please share this with a friend. Really, we rely completely on word of mouth. That's how we keep this thing going. So as our guy Adam Carolla says, blow a little wind into that pirate sail. All right, Bob. It's been a week. It's been an eventful week for you. I know you've been traveling around, seeing some family. I've been traveling around
Oh,
for different reasons, but we haven't talked. How you been?
good. We took Amtrak from Ann Arbor to Milwaukee to see our new granddaughter, Miley, who celebrated her first month birthday today. Yeah, so Miley McGinn, all 7 pounds. It was awesome.
Well, I
Amtrak
need a
is
full
good.
scouting report from Bob here. We need a full draft style. What are the scouts saying about Miley? What's the word on the street? What's the Wonderlick? The vert? Any off the field issues that we need to know about here? Let's get into everything.
Miley's sleeping well. Charlie and Dana are doing great. And trial and error, right, Tyler? You know about that, and so do I. You got a pair, I got three, and so they're winging it and doing pretty good.
I love it. Congrats to both of them, the whole fam. That's amazing. I'm sure a lot of folks listening right now, I mean, they remember those first 3 to 5 months are just an absolute blur. I mean, really, it's head on a swivel, a quarterback facing Brian Flores' defense. Who's blitzing from where? I mean, pick your analogy. I know exactly what Charlie's going through right now. And I mean, and it just kind of evolves, right? Like we were joking before hitting record. You've got your coffee at 8 o'clock at night, and I just put the kids down with my wife, which means I've got a Warlock from Southern Tier Brewing, which some listeners may know. What are the stronger options at Southern Tier Brewing? It's a little more ABV than Pumpkin, and the Pumpkin is pretty strong, but the older you get, the balder you get. I think you kind of warm up to those imperial stouts, especially after a nice eventful day with the children. And yeah, that witching hour we just had, it was very similar to the Vikings Lions game there at US Bank Stadium. A lot of lead changes. Ivan Pace is bringing the ball back for a touchdown. You think the game's over, couple 3-and-outs, and then Jared Goff's lead them down the field. But no, they're amazing. There's nothing like it. I'm so happy for your son. I mean, there's as much as I love sports and it's my life, it's your life. It consumes us in every conceivable way. It did when we played football and basketball, track, like, and then to carry it into my profession. I mean, it never feels like you work a day in your life. Thank you everybody again for allowing us to live the dream like we do. It pales in comparison to being a dad. I mean, it just gets better. That's what my dad told me. He said, Ty, it's only going to get better day to day to day. It's so true. I think the best way you can put parenting is, maybe I mentioned this. Apologies if I did. Do you remember Steve Ballmer, the crazy Clippers owner, right? The Microsoft guy. He when he
Yeah.
bought the team, he's going nuts on the sideline. He's like losing his mind. And I remember listening to a radio show the next day, and they're like trying to figure out like what in life would drive you that mad or make you go that crazy, like make you that happy, that euphoric as you saw Steve Ballmer with his head about to pop off his shoulders. And one of them put it perfect. It's like if my son accomplished like anything, and anything of substance in high school, like hitting a game winning shot versus a rival in high school basketball. And that absolutely would do it. There's nothing like it. So hey, hat tip to all the dads and the moms out there. We got some moms who listen as well.
So then, Tyler, on Saturday night, Pat and I played. We were fans, so we understood what it's like to be a fan here Saturday night. We saw Iowa at Michigan State. Sparty 32, that's Pat's alma mater. The Hawkeyes, my son's alma mater, 20. We're in row 15 in the corner. Um, and just, it's hard to be a fan, Tyler. I mean, people just screaming like nonstop, trying to create noise against Cade McNamara, the Hawkeye QB, just screaming in our ears and on the side of us. Just it was pretty incredible noise. And then the alcohol, which has come into the Big Ten now in the last couple of years, that kicked in around halftime, second half, and but it was really fun. And Sparty had a big one. And for anybody out there, I've seen almost every minute of every Michigan and Michigan State game this year. That game opened. Now I don't bet anything. It never have. It opened Michigan minus 5.5. Both teams are 4-3. And there was so much money must have come in on the Spartans that now it's Michigan minus 4. I would bet the Spartans to win this game. Forget the spread. Michigan is going down. The Natty champs are probably going to be 5-7,
Wow.
and the
Wow.
Spartans are coming up. Last year, this game was 49-0 at East Lansing. This year, I don't know. Sparty 30, Blue 14.
Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
let me just collect my thoughts here because that might require a DraftKings return because Bob McGinn never misses. This is the definition of free money. People may remember a certain Bob McGinn on a podcast ahead of the Green Bay Dallas wild card game. You predicted a Packers victory. And I don't know if there was anybody out there who was doing the same. I know Brett, we had the show with Brett Favre then. He was bullish on Jordan Love at that point. He was confident that Green Bay could win. In terms of conviction, you were feeling good about that. You're feeling good about Michigan State. So, hey, that's what you get when you subscribe to Go Along too. The occasional Bob McGinn. It's like Steve Stone Cold Austin from the top rope, just jumping down with a bet that's gonna guarantee. You guarantee it right here, right? I mean, it's gonna happen.
All right, what are we talking about first, Tyler? In the NFC, the torrid NFC North, right?
Man, that was one of just the purest, just high level football games that we've seen in recent memory between Minnesota and Detroit. Because
Yep.
we both love to kind of just bitch about where the game's at, and justifiably so. Still can't get over that Bills Jets game a couple weeks ago. 30 flags. The rules are just so insane at this point. There's been so much bureaucratic nonsense injected into the sport that crew to crew, it's all up for interpretation, and you're never really quite sure how a game's even going to be officiated. And then on top of that, you'll have a team that doesn't tackle well. Quarterback play is really abysmal for several of these 32 teams. You're never really quite sure what you're going to get. And then there's just injuries on top of that. My God, every team is just besieged by injuries, including Detroit in this one. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I try to absorb as much as I can in real time when I'm watching a game here at home with the ticket, whether it's getting the multi-view up with 3 or 4 different games, and had Green Bay Houston up as well, and then went back and rewatched that. We'll get into that. That was a great game too. The Vikings have nothing to be ashamed of. They play their asses off as well. But what a win for Detroit. One of the best wins for Dan Campbell. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun. We'll let you go position by position like you always do, Bob. To me, that was Jared Goff's best game, period. Rams included. Because you think about the Rams days, and it never really was fair but Sean McVay is getting a lot of credit. It is a lot of one read, two reads, even when they were really clicking and humming, and that Chiefs shootout was a lot of fun for everybody. I mean, he is just asked to do so much in this offense, and you could just see him at the line of scrimmage figuring out what Brian Flores was trying to throw at him in real time. And Frank Ragnow definitely helps at center, and he referenced that after the game. Goff, who doesn't say a hell of a lot, I thought that was telling that he said, yeah, we had a good idea what they were doing. Now juxtapose that versus Brock Purdy after the game going up to Flores saying your scheme's crazy. Right? I mean, it took Jordan Love a while to figure it out in that game, obviously.
Yeah, it sure
So
did.
Jared Goff is the best player in the NFL this season. I think he's the MVP front runner. If he keeps it up, man, what a story! It just continues for him.
I mean, they're down 10-0, you know. They had gone 3-0 in 3 series in a row. I was just thinking Minnesota's going to, go 6-0 and have a lead on everybody. And maybe this is just their year, and who knows? Could be 15-1. Who the heck knows? Although no, I didn't think that. Okay, but maybe 12-5, 13-4, and then touchdown drives measuring 69, 73, 72, and 85 in a row, 4 in a row. He took charge of the game, and then the Vikings fought back, and it was a great second half, and the whole thing was really good. So the division right now, 19-6. That's 760 ball. Next closest AFC West, 15-11. Thanks to the Chiefs 6-0, the only unbeaten team in the league. So tied for second with the best records in football are the Lions and Vikings at 5-1. Green Bay 5-2. Bears 4-2. Interesting stuff, Tyler. And when you look at the Bears, they were idle. Okay. The next 3 games, they're at Washington. Depending on Jaden Daniels, it's certainly winnable. They're at Arizona. That's winnable. And they host New England, which should be a piece of cake. They better win the next 3. That would put them at 7-2. And then they have a back-breaking schedule in which their last 8 opponents are 37-15 right now. 7-1-2 winning percentage. All have a winning record except San Francisco at 3-4. So these division games are really going to add up now. They're going to stack up. It's going to be really good stuff. All right, should we start on? Let's start with the Lions, right, Tyler? The Lions. One general thought. I mean, Tyler, they got five starting or major contributing defensive linemen on IR. Hutchinson, Kaminsky, Davenport, Pico, and Broderick Martin. They got one starting linebacker, a real good cornerback in Mosley, and a real good safety in Melifanu. That's 8 guys out on defense. All right. Whereas Minnesota, Hawkinson wasn't quite ready to play, and then they had Cashman, the linebacker, out. So they were down 2 starters. All right. So, the Lions have kind of found something in Patrick, the ex-Bronco, Tim Patrick. I mean, they gave him 30 snaps. On the 45-yard touchdown run early by Gibbs, I mean, he blocked the corner Murphy forever at the point of attack. He's big enough to come in and block down and pass block defensive ends or cave him down on plays to his side. And he's become a factor in the passing game. Ran a really nice dig against Murphy for 18. Pretty good player. St. Brown, he just kind of owns the middle of the field, Tyler. We know that. He has the synergy with Goff. And, I mean, every game when they really want to go to him, he's always open. He just finds ways. Jameson Williams. Wow. He's reportedly suspended for 2 games for performance-enhancing drugs, steroids, I assume. He didn't get a target until 7:08 mark of the 3rd quarter. He missed those games last year for the gambling thing on club premises. I don't know. Okay, so at least Khalif Raymond is playing well, and they're starting to use him now. Only 16 snaps, but he did some really good things against a heck of a corner, Stephon Gilmore. All right, tight ends, Laporta. They use this guy as a blocker. Now, their real blocker is Brock Wright, but he's real limited in the passing game. Laporta gives real effort as a blocker, but then he has bad runs, two of them late at the point of attack. He's just not strong enough and big enough, and he gets trashed. Um, he's not really being used as a receiver this year. I mean, that's a weapon they just haven't been using. He's got only 14 catches in 6 games. What do you have last year? 85 or something? He's got one touchdown. He made a nice catch for 25 on a low ball. I mean, he's a heck of a player, and Wright's their blocker. Any thoughts there before we go to the old line, T?
I mean, I was definitely looking forward to Bob's analysis, scorching takes on one Jamison Williams. I mean, this is a player you've been consistent on from day one in terms of effort, fit, mental lapses, off-field issues, and there's the talent. I mean, you saw it in the NFC Championship game when he was like a reverse he took to the house. You see it at times. This year, the Seattle game, speed to burn. I mean, if you're designing a play and he's the go-to guy and you know he's just gonna get anybody one-on-one, he can make them pay. But it's all this other shit that you got to deal with. And it's a team and an organization that doesn't put up with exactly that shit. It's but they have bended for him, and I get it because he's really talented. At what point do those lines cross? You know what I mean? Like, at what point can you only tolerate so much if you're the Detroit Lions, a team trying to win the Super Bowl this season? I mean, he's so good. You want him on the field, but it's always something. And you have diagnosed that quite early here on the pod.
So they should be able to beat Tennessee at home this week, but then they're at Green Bay. He's going to miss that game. So with the crowd noise and a really improved and a much improved defense here as we go in Green Bay, that field is going to be shrunk tight, isn't it? Without Williams to take the top off as a decoy. And then you're going to have Allen Robinson out there, the ex-Bear and Jaguar, I guess he was. He's on the roster now, but I mean, he can't run anymore. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge next week. But all right, the offensive line, really a good
But real
game.
quick though, like, would it be
Sure.
worth? I mean, we're talking pass rusher at the deadline. Should they be aggressive at wide receiver too?
No, they got so many weapons. They got Gibbs and they got Laporta. They
Yeah,
can run the ball. No, I don't think they do that, Tyler. Pass rush is a different animal.
yeah, yeah.
All right, the old line. Harrison Phillips of the Vikings is a really good player, and you know him from the Bills. He's not that big, but he's a very smart, physical guy. And Ragnow, I watched that matchup a lot. Man, he played well in this game. I mean, he just bodied Phillips. He's a bigger man than Phillips. And I wrote down, I was just little lines. 5 times I got him just bodying Phillips out of the hole in run games. Uh, Phillips did nothing against him in pass pro. Ragnow's a really good player, playing with a partially torn pec, I guess. All right, the guards. Glasgow had a rough
He's
game.
he's
I
always
really
playing with something, isn't he? Like Ragnow, just always there's always a limb that's 42%. There's something going on, and he just guts through. I'm thinking of Vita Vea in that playoff game against Tampa. Man, he is tough. He's going to be on the all old school team when we have that in a month or so.
Yeah, he's got a toe that's going to be chronic the rest of his career. All right, Glasgow had kind of a rough game. He gave up 2 sacks. He had 2 holding penalties. He struggled. So they did not have the starting guard, Kevin Zeitler, with an injury. He's inactive. So they started with Awa Sika, who made about 3 starts last year down the stretch because of injury. Awa Sika, he really had a horrible start. Holding penalty, second play against Phillips. Holding penalty, third play against the linebacker Pace. False start on 4th and 1. They couldn't go for it then. They punted. He was shoved aside by Bullard on a run, gave up a pressure to Tillery. They struggled. And yet, you talked about how Goff handled this noise and a kind of an ineffective guard. and just played right through all that stuff.
Hmm.
Okay, Decker um, had a holding penalty that was declined, gave up a sack to Jonathan Greenard in 2.66, gave up another sack on a spin to Greenard in 3.5, two sacks for Decker, two sacks for Glasgow. Um, okay, that's the line. And Sewell, he was fine. One false start, one bad run. Okay, let's go to the running backs. Rough day for Montgomery, Tyler.
Yes.
He failed on 3rd and inches, suffered a left knee injury, sat out about half a quarter, and returned. Uh, he missed pace on an interior blitz, gave up a knockdown. He missed a blitz pickup against Josh Metellus. He had a false start. He had an awful fumble late in the game, had a 4-yard run. He got benched after that. He made one great catch. So in his 22 snaps, about a third of them were miserable. I'm sure that won't ever happen again. He's too good. And Gibbs then came on. Oh, what a luxury, huh? To have two backs like that. Gibbs, I'm right in here, quick to the edge. On that 45-yard touchdown, you saw him juke Bynum, the really good Viking safety, just froze that guy. Um, the way he gets north south on checkdowns, I mean, he's looking for ways to get away, obviously, for a home run, but it doesn't affect his ability to take what's there and get north south in a heartbeat. That was a gain of 19 on a check down. It looked like about a gain of 10. He stiff arm pace the small backer, gain an extra 5. He hit that touchdown on 3rd and 7. What a shocking call by Ben Johnson. 8-yard touchdown. He hit that thing so fast he was untouched. 14-yard, 2 minutes left on an inside toss, the kind of play that Aaron Jones used to run in Green Bay. The toss, but he keeps it, inside the A gap. Hard running in there. And then on the next play, he got 16 on a swing to set up that winning field goal. Impressive by Gibbs all the way. Now, go T.
I mean, I think we have to stay on Gibbs for a moment because it wasn't that long ago, Bob. Draft day. I know that you are smarter than most people and avoid social media like the plague. I mean, people treated that selection like they just took Anthony Bennett, right? Like they're the Cleveland Cavaliers taking an all-time bust, right? It's Darko Milicic. It was immediate scorn, like
Really?
universal scorn. Oh my God, they were skewered. It was,
Why? Why? Just a
you know,
bat, you mean?
because football's been overtaken by the nerds, Bob. That's why. Because
Okay.
because you can't take a running back that high. Because he wasn't in the mock drafts that high. Of course, right? We're God, it's like our mouths are held open for 7 months, and the mock drafters in the basements are just pouring their content down our throats, whether we want it or not, and we all just fatten up on it. It's just disgusting. I mean, really. And enough of the power rankings every Tuesday too. God, if I ever do a power ranking at Go Long, just come to my home and just shoot me because it's over. Like really, just awful, awful stuff that's come of. But yeah, I mean, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell had their reaction like they do in the war room. And it just is a sign that here's a team that knows stuff that everybody else or most everybody else just can't see, can't get a feel. Maybe there were teams out there that really liked Jahmyr Gibbs and would have taken him high, but I don't know. I mean, they're here for a reason, the Detroit Lions. They turn this organization around for a reason, and it's selections like that, unpopular picks that just send everybody into an absolute riot. They knew what they had in them, and yeah, it's a running back. But you know what? Even like it's they're not looking to extend him on a contract right now. I mean, bare minimum, you get these guys for 4 or 5 years in their prime. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
hell, look like, and then every once in a while you'll get a really special freak of nature like a Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. I'm surprised at what he's doing. He still has some shoot. Like every so often you get a guy like that too. So they saw something in Jahmyr Gibbs. They took him. He's been a perfect blend with David Montgomery. And that run that you referenced, I thought I was watching like a high school game. The way he just embarrassed was it Murphy? I mean, just one on
Bryant.
one, a little dip, no wasted motion, and he's gone. It's just a no bullshit running style with wiggle and an elusiveness, and he can catch. And now he knows what he's doing in pass protection. I don't think they're worried about like him screwing up in a key moment for the most part. But what I know we praise the Lions to the high heavens, but that's why because they take somebody that the draft industrial complex never thinks of, and frankly I don't think a lot. I think most teams aren't even considering him. Was it 12 overall?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Goff. Now, Tyler, I used to have a legal tablet in there, and every game I would mark down Aaron Rodgers and his fumbles and fumbles lost. And I don't know that he's maybe a couple times in his long Green Bay career did he have multiple fumbles in one game. I mean, Tyler, he would finish seasons with 4 or 5 fumbles, maybe one or two lost. The guy, that's one of his greatest qualities. Two hands on the ball, ball security. He's just marvelous. I think he's the best ever. Now, Jared Goff fumbled the ball twice in this game. Now, the ball was right next to him, and he luckily recovered. But we'd be singing a different tune had he lost those 2 fumbles. He did fumble twice. All right, now let's go on. It was really loud. Metellus is unblocked in his face with one of Brian Flores' blitzes, and he just drills the ball to St. Brown for 12. It was a great throw. He read the blitz so calmly on that 35-yard touchdown pass to, I can't remember who it was. Flores, no, I mean, he was standing in there. He kind of reminded me of Peyton Manning. That came to my mind in this game. I wrote down Peyton Manning-esque. His first incompletion was a batted ball. He hit his first 15. Second and 15, Greenard beats Decker. Goff senses it, doesn't look, keeps his eyes downfield. He steps up about 1 yard, hangs in the pocket, and drills Patrick on that dig for 18. I mean, wow. Just Grenard had his hand on, looked like he had grazed his shoulder. Okay, then
That
third
was
and
the
two.
best throw of the day to me.
Third and two in the fourth quarter. St. Brown in the middle, heavily covered. Anticipation on the throw, gain of 17. And then at the end, first and 10 on his own 30 with 2:32 left, 2 timeouts. He's down by 1. And didn't do much great. Made the swing pass to Gibbs, hit St. Brown twice, intermediate range down the middle, 44-yard drive and the field goal, and they win it. So Jared Goff, and he is now second in the NFL in passer rating at 111.5. Lamar Jackson, 118. Joe Burrow, 110.1. Also in the division, Darnold's number 7 at 104. Jordan Love is 14 at 94.1. Caleb Williams is number 20 at 88.7. So that's the offense, Tyler.
The decision to throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown on that game-winning field goal drive was also quintessential Detroit Lions, right? Because they technically were in field goal range after the completion to Jahmyr Gibbs on that swing pass, but
I think so.
I think, we saw it with Zach Taylor and the Bengals in overtime against the Ravens a few weeks ago, where they're technically in field goal range and they get conservative. They run it 3 times in a row, I believe, and Evan McPherson has a long field goal. I believe the holder like had struggled putting the ball down, misses it. So I there you go again. Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, all on the same page. Like, we're throwing it in this spot, and it was kind of like St. Brown he starts on the left side of the field and he runs a crosser all the way to the right. Minnesota's in zone, and who's right there? 2 potential Hall of Fame players, Harrison Smith, Stephon Gilmore. So it still kind of was tight coverage for zone. Throws on the money. I'm glad you brought up the Patrick throw. That was the best one of the day. I mean, for Jared Goff to instinctually just step up. I mean, Jonathan Grenard is just screaming off the edge. He's right there. There's a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, that's to his back. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what's going on. He's got to have a feel for
Yep.
that. And it's such a fine line, right? As a quarterback, like you need to be sturdy and strong in the pocket and hang that extra split second so your receiver can break free. But you also don't want to go full Mason Rudolph. I mean, I'm watching that game. I mean, he just sits in that damn pocket. I mean, he is so calm. It's unbelievable. And it's good. I mean, he had a few completions, but he's bound to fumble. He's bound to make a mistake. He just sits there forever. I think Goff over time has kind of figured out that balance. He knows when to pull the trigger. He's not perfect. He referenced the fumbles for sure. Um, but man, Jonathan Grenard was great too in this game. He probably one of the most underrated players in football in his own right. We sat down when I was in Minnesota last week. I'll have some Viking stuff in the future that go along. But great story. He was in the backfield a bunch this game. You can see why Flores loves him. But yeah, Jared Goff. Can't say enough, Bob. I mean, it's about time he got credit for himself. We can give everybody else flowers and with the Rams and the Lions, but
I'll own up to my mistake. Jonathan Grenard was one of my five most disappointing players in that preseason stuff we did, Tyler. I had Aaron Rodgers. I'll take that one. But Grenard, I had him also. I
they
dropped the
paid him a
ball.
lot of money. They paid him a shit ton of money. It
And
was like
I dropped the
85
ball.
mil. He's been better than Daniil Hunter, who they let walk to Houston.
Yeah. So I rip people, Tyler, and I deserve to be ripped. I dropped the ball. All right.
Hey. But look, it's not like anybody here did a three-part series on the New York Giants taking a giant leap, okay?
All right. Let's go to
I'm
the
not bailing. I'm not bailing yet. All right. Hey, it's a marathon, guys. It's a
who
marathon of
you
the
got.
season.
You got somebody. The Giants play somebody good Monday night too.
They go to Pittsburgh. Yeah, they go to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. The Lion
They
D.
drink some Warlock.
First game without Hutchinson. Okay, so they play Mr. Pascal at the big end where Hutchinson was all the time. He played 52 out of 60 snaps. All right, he's a second round pick from Kentucky. What did he run, Tyler? He ran 6'2" and a half, 270, ran 4.79. Hutchinson, 6'6" and a half, 268, 4.76. So their 40 time is almost the same. This guy's a pretty good athlete too, and he's got a great motor. All right, so he's got to come through. He got off the ball pretty well. He drew a holding penalty early on the tight end month. He was in and out with injury. He got a sack. He was unblocked for some reason. Got a gimme sack. And late, he got a flush against the really good right tackle, O'Neal, and that set up a sack for a teammate. So that was pretty good. They started Mr. Ukwu, Josiah, I believe it is, Ukwu, over at the small end position. Isaac Ukwu, 34 snaps. All right. You know, he's alert, Tyler. He wrecked a bubble screen the first play of the game to Jefferson. He smelled out another screen. Ball was thrown away. He smelled out a throwback to Darnold. The play was incomplete, I think it was. He was pretty physical. He didn't offer any pressure, but he's a physical kid. Now, how big is he? Let's see. 6'2" and a half, 261. He only ran 4.87. I mean, he's a free agent, this year, rookie. He's smart. Well, there we go. 29 on the test. Correlates to those three plays that he diagnosed. All right. They played Houston. James Houston for 9 snaps. He had 1 flush. They played the D lineman, the 3 technique from LSU, Mekai Wingo, 11 snaps. He played the big end for Pascal. He was a non-factor. So that's what they got, Tyler. They got other people still in the practice squad. They could elevate. There's a lot of discussion, certainly in all quarters of the internet, that they could make a trade. We shall see. They got till what, November 5? I believe that's the trade
Right.
deadline. Yep. All right. Inside, how was the pressure? I mean, this is where it's got to come from. McNeil didn't have a great game. He had two knockdowns. He wasn't a big factor against the run either. Reeder, the huge veteran, played 32 snaps. McNeil played 50. He had two pressures. He's hard to move. He's on the ground some. O'Connor, a guy they elevated from the practice squad, like a 7-year vet, I think from Eastern Michigan. He made a couple good run plays. Um, so that's their front. And, they picked up a guy from a seventh round pick, Isaiah Thomas, seventh rounder in 2022 by the Browns. They signed him off the Bengals practice squad. He's got good numbers, 6'5", 265, ran 4.73. He's a bright kid. He had 18 and a half sacks in college. He was inactive. He could be a factor at some point. All right, linebacker. All right, Anzalone played every snap, 60. Just a good player. He's good all the time. Campbell, 47. I thought he was just okay in this game. He's a take-on guy. I mean, he's really big, and he just kind of takes on and envelops a blocker and a ball carrier. 6'4.5", 251. He can do it. He's really intense. I just don't know. He hasn't done enough for me, but he hasn't been bad. They played Rodriguez, the free agent guy. Excuse me, sixth-round pick 3 years ago. Played pretty good. He two bubbles to start the second half. He played one of them good, one of them bad. He got beat by Munt on a play for 25 yards. Gain was nullified by penalty. He got a sack late on a chase, and he had to run stuff. And then Nowaski, the kid from Saginaw Valley, played 14 snaps, unblocked at the end of the game, got a sack of Darnold on the last play of the game. Closed pretty good on Munt, the tight end, on a dump off, tackled him for a gain of 1. So that's their front seven. Any thoughts, T, or should we just go to the secondary?
I'm just surprised Isaiah Thomas has a little gas in the tank, after those years with the Detroit Pistons on
Mhm.
that fourth quarter on the busted ankle in the NBA Finals against the Lakers. Didn't he have like 25 points in the fourth quarter? Playing on one ankle.
I
See, you're
wasn't
shaking your
watching.
head. That's one of the moments in NBA history that has gone so underappreciated. He is hobbling around. He can't even run. And I think he dropped 25 in the fourth quarter on the Lakers in an NBA Finals game. Did you get into the NBA that time?
I love my NBA from 61 to 78, and then I checked out. I've been
So
gone for
you
about 45 years.
okay, I'm sorry. So you loved the NBA
Yes,
when
I did.
everybody basically in the entire country was becoming disenfranchised with the NBA. Like seriously, like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird saved the NBA like a year and a half later. Like when you were out, when Bob McGinn was out, everybody you loved it when it was on tape delay and it's just
Yeah,
all these centers. It's just Wilt Chamberlain getting 74 rebounds in a game, like the,
Bill
Lou
Russell, the Celtic
Alcindor, Phil
Arbach
Russell,
cigar. Come on, Tyler.
Wes Unseld. So
Jerry
Magic and
West,
Bird
Elgin
come in,
Baylor.
they save the league, and you're out. You're
I
out. You're
can't.
done.
I
You're out.
can't
You don't
follow
want to watch this ball. You
everything.
don't want this crap.
All right, let's go to the DBs.
I can't let it go though. You didn't enjoy Showtime Lakers. You didn't enjoy
I
Larry
don't have
Bird.
time. I didn't have time. I was raising 3 kids, and I mean, something had to give. I like
Well,
baseball over the NBA in May and June. I mean, something had to give,
okay. Well, I
and,
shouldn't. I
and it
shouldn't
was
throw
the nibble.
stones in a glass house because that's exactly where we are right now. I guarantee you, I won't watch any NBA this entire regular season. That's so true. That's very okay. All right, I can't rip you too much.
All right, secondary. I think it's the best they've played. Terry and Arnold, boy, he looked like a player in this one, Tyler. I mean, he had a lot of snaps against Jefferson and Addison. Uh, he had one bad play. He gave up the outside on Aaron Jones's early 34-yard touchdown run. Just made a mental mistake and didn't stay outside. Corners got to stay out wide, get help from the inside. He was inside, gone. Other than that, he hardly gave up a completion. He played a great game. Cameron Davis was injured all week. He played every snap. He had two coverage penalties. He forced a fumble that was overturned by penalty. He was very aggressive and he played very well. That's got to be really encouraging for them. The nickelback, Amik Robertson, he gave up a 25-yard touchdown. He didn't have bad coverage. It was against Jefferson. What are you going to do? The guy's the best. And he had a holding penalty. But again, without much pass rush, that secondary held up. And I think everybody around the league is going to be watching this tape and thinking, whoa, Detroit can cover. They couldn't cover last year with Sutton and Jacobs and that bunch. After this game, I mean, there was massive questions prior to this game at corner. In this one, it was really good. All right, the safety, man, Branch was terrific in this game. I mean, he was the nickel last year. Now he's in his, sixth game as a full-fledged NFL safety. Whew. He's a baller, man. This guy is on it. He had a great breakup on 3rd and 9, man cover against Naylor, the quick number 3 guy for the Vikes. Over route, broke the thing up. He had a tough fill against Aaron Jones, made the tackle, really hard hit. Interception on the backside. He was in alert position, showed fine hands, led to a touchdown. Great play. Such a fierce competitor. Darnold's running on a scramble. Branch comes flying over his head. I mean, there was no penalty. Man, it was just decisive and reckless. Loved it. And he tight coverage on the missed extra point. Played a great game. And with all the good coverage underneath, Kirby Joseph, I got nothing on him. He played every snap. Wouldn't even know he was on the field. That's the way you want it. Kicking game, Bates. Man, the first couple kickoffs, this guy's he's got a huge leg, the kid from the UFL, and he's been banging it 75, 78 yards, automatic touchbacks all year. Well, this time they had him kick intentionally short, first 2 or 3, and they weren't returned. They were returned to about the 25. And then the last couple, he just banged them for touchbacks. Dan Campbell in the fake punt. All right, 4th and 7. Didn't work. It was kind of a pitch, lateral, whatever. Didn't work. Reeves Maben, the linebacker, got hit, gain of 1. It led to a touchdown, and they were down 10-0. He's going to keep doing it. And, yeah, you can say it's boneheaded, but usually it works. Caught me by surprise. Looked like it didn't catch the Vikes by surprise. Who's their coordinator? Matt Daniels. I don't know him. Gilmore is a young guy who really is a good gunner for them. So that's it for Detroit, Tyler. Before we go to the Vikes, anything more on them?
Yeah, a few things. So Jake Bates, I know you're never supposed to verbalize this, but he has not missed a kick this year. He's 10 of 10. 3 of 3 from 40 to 49. They haven't even attempted a field goal 50 plus because why would you when Dan Campbell's your coach? To your point, they're going for it. So there's another thing that kind of sets this team apart. Oh, Jake Bates, did you catch his press conference after this game? It was
No.
really interesting. He said that he was selling bricks. He was a brick salesman. He's thinking the dream is dead, and now he's kicking game winners for the Detroit Lions. So that's pretty amazing. Brian Branch, man, he was unbelievable. The athletic plays that he's able to make. There's not many people in the game that can make those plays. And when you're kind of singing his praises, my memory just went back to Will Anderson Jr. was his teammate at Alabama. And when I was talking to Will for the story we had there in August, he made like out of nowhere, he brought up Brian Branch as like the player that Nick Saban rode in practice. Like he was on his ass day to day to day.
Mm,
Because he loved him, because he knew the potential. I mean, that, if a coach is
mm,
doing that, he sees something in you. It was the same deal with Minka Fitzpatrick a few years back. So,
mm.
there's another player the Lions just get in the second round, and he was such a
Yeah.
difference maker in a huge game. And then thirdly, Justin Jefferson, I think if you're the Lions and you're looking at that box score, I don't want to misspeak. I believe it was, yeah, 7 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown, which is a solid game. But go back and look at what Justin Jefferson has done to this team. During his press conference last week in Minnesota, I mean, it's always kind of an awkward setting. That's why we both hate press conferences, loathe them, never really ask anything. It's good to kind of sit in on and learn something. Kind of took that from Bob, but I'd rather have as many exclusive one-on-one conversations that are just natural as possible. It's just a very unnatural setting. Players at the podium, everybody's kind of playing a role. The cameras are out. But even then, like even in that awkwardness inside their like indoor practice facility, they had kind of a setup. He was asked like, why do you enjoy playing the Lions? Like kind of a reference to his numbers against this team. And out of nowhere, he just starts like laughing hysterically. He just starts laughing because look at what he's done versus this team. So for the Lions to have, their top three pass rushers down in this game in Minnesota against maybe the best wide receiver in football, and he goes 781 touchdown, like that's a win for Detroit. They'll take that.
Yes. All right. So we'll shorten it up on the Vikings. We've talked about them indirectly. Yeah, Jefferson, you covered him. I mean, he's fantastic, and he didn't go off on him. Okay, victory, Detroit. Addison, he was covered, I guess. He finally made his first catch on that 51-yard bomb between Branch and Joseph. Great play. The guy's got tremendous speed. Naylor, I kind of like him. Who they have last year? That J.J. Osborne. Naylor's
KJ
as good as
Osborne.
him.
Yep.
Yeah, made a great catch on the sideline against two guys, and then a bunch of yards after the catch for a gain of 35. All right, so they should get Hawkinson back this week against on Thursday night. Who are they playing Thursday night, Tyler?
The LA Rams.
Yeah, so he practiced his 21-day period is coming to an end, so I'm sure he plays. All right, so they've been playing these first 6 games with Munt, 40 snaps, and Josh Oliver, 35. I mean, these guys they're twos and threes, And Darnold, how many catches? Munt's got 13 for 6.4, and Oliver's got 5 for 8.4. Oliver, though, is a really tough run blocker. Man, he really is. He's like Brock Wright of Detroit. He's a solid player. Munt had a bad drop. All right, so let's go to the offensive line. A pretty good showing. I mean, Darisaw, he's really good, Tyler. He's better than Decker right now. He's better than Walker. Is he better than? Yeah, he's better than Braxton Jones of the Bears. He's the best left tackle in the division. He's shoving people down. He shoved Wingo down, knocked Pascal down. He's just a dancing bear. He's really good. The left guard, Brandel, he could be replaced by Dalton Reisner, who's also ready to come off the injured reserve list, I guess it is. Yeah. Reisner's the ex-Titan. I mean, I don't know who they're going to go with. Brandel's been okay. He's not a weak link. He has not been. Bradbury, the center, he was pretty damn stout against Onwuzurike and Reeder. A good game. He had one false start, but he was not getting blown up at all. He played good. Ingram, the right guard, Ed Ingram, had one hold, but again, they were really good in protection in the almost most of the game. And then the right tackle O'Neal, we mentioned him earlier with one pressure. Darnold was protected well. They have a good line. Man, 2-3 years ago, the Vikings had a terrible line. but they've stayed with Bradbury, who was the first round pick in 2019. They've stayed with the guy, even though he's small and gets knocked around. And he's become I would call him, he's an above average starter, I'd say. They got Darisaw, was a great draft pick by Rick Spielman. O'Neal was another terrific pick by Spielman, so they're solid at tackle. And the guards, Ingram's been okay as a second round guy from LSU, and Brandel and Reisner, they can kind of get by. They missed on Ezra Cleveland, who's wherever he is now, Tennessee, I guess. And but I think they're okay at left guard. So it's a good group. I'll go to the running back, Tyler. Okay,
Sure.
Aaron Jones, right away. Packer fans have seen this a million times. He's veering into the A gap. It's not there. He makes that jump cut to wide, and there it is. Our can't remember what it was. 34-yard touchdown. He bounces wide. He's got a bad hip. He missed the previous game. Blitz pickup. I write down tough blitz pickup against Anzalone. Then a great blitz pickup on Jack Campbell. They throw a pass out in the flat. He's manned up against Rodriguez. Gain of 16. Too fast for Rodriguez. What are you going to do? Then they put him out as a wide receiver on 3rd and 9. Rodriguez has got to go guard him. Well, we've seen Jones be able to play as a wideout his whole career. That's another part of his game. Runs an over route against Rodriguez. Gain of 18. Terrific. I mean, he comes off. He drives vertically, stem the route. Rodriguez couldn't stay with that, and he just burst over the middle. And then against an 8-man front late in the game, he runs off left tackle. There's nothing there. He got 5. I don't know how he did. Jones has really, really turned their offense around. I mean, is he as important as Sam Darnold? I don't know. They're both vital to this operation, but that team would be without either one of them, they wouldn't be where they are. Chandler only played 11 snaps. Jones had 43. They had to play the guy. They had to try to win the game. So Chandler sat down. He didn't do anything. Now let's go to Darnold, Mr. Red Mustache. I think he played really good, Tyler. I can't really. I mean, yeah, he wasn't perfect, but he's a good quarterback. And this was another litmus test. He beat the Packers at Lambeau Field, and now he comes back and he lost a tough game at home by 2 points or something. He made a great throw with Reeder in his face early, gain of 18. He scrambles up the gut for 6. The guy's got good wheels. What the heck was his 40 time? 4.86. I think he plays faster than that. Looks like he's like a 4.75 guy. He had taken more snaps under center than any QB in the league. And I mean, he's comfortable under center. I like it. He was very sharp in this game. Scrambles up the gut again for 18. He's got wheels. Interception. He did not see Jones uncovered on the wheel route. A game-costing mistake. Jones went off to the left. I wouldn't call it a wheel route, kind of a deep sideline. It wasn't even covered. He threw to the other side and got picked off by Branch. Yeah. He made a great throw on the touchdown to Jefferson one-on-one against Robertson. He layered that ball beautifully to Naylor against a blitz for 35. Did you see that one, Tyler?
Yeah.
What a throw. How do these guys do it? I mean, layer that. How in the hell do you do that? We used to throw the ball, Tyler. I have no clue. No idea. Then he throws the home run ball to Addison. That ball was 58 in the air, Tyler. That's a pretty good wing. Gain was 51. He was getting knocked down by McNeil on the play, too. 2:45 left, 3rd and 4. Here's the game. He threw high to Jefferson. That was their last snap.
Yep. One mistake will get you in the game like that.
And then he threw on the 2-point. He threw it low. So he had 15 seconds left. I didn't remember. It just didn't work. So that's their offense, Steve. Any thoughts on the Vico?
Yeah, I mean, I think getting TJ Hawkinson back is going to be really big for this offense. I mean, he was playing really well. It's been a long time since they've even seen TJ Hawkinson, but he got into the details of his recovery for the first time and said how Tyler Williams is this director of player health and performance that they hired when Kevin O'Connell came in, and a lot of innovative stuff, but they hooked him up to trackers just to kind of like see where he was speed wise, acceleration, deceleration. And he said that the Vikings wanted him to get up to 3,500 yards per day, which would kind of like simulate training camp. And it's like football yards, you know what I mean? Not like in between stuff. So they've been on his recovery about as much as you can be on a player's recovery. And if he's dropped into this offense, dynamic tight end threat, middle of the field, it's going to make everybody's lives that much easier. Can't wait to see what he can do. Now, let me throw this at you. I saw it floated around today. It seems a little zany, but the suggestion that the Vikings should make a trade offer for Matthew Stafford. If the Rams are out, if they're trading Cooper Kupp, should the Vikings explore that as a possibility? Kevin O'Connell coached them. They won a Super Bowl together. Or do
So
you think that they,
Darnold for Stafford?
I don't know. I mean, just, I guess, acquire Stafford somehow if the Rams
Oh,
are
okay.
bailing. I think you ride Darnold. I mean, he's in the MVP conversation for a reason. Uh, that's interesting. Interesting conversation to have.
So they have McCarthy coming back next year.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like both those quarterbacks, so I don't know. Yeah. All right, to the Viking D, Brian Flores. It wasn't a great game. I mean, Goff picked him apart. That's going to be the blueprint teams will try to follow. You got to have a hell of an offensive line. You got to have a very smart quarterback to do it. And the Lions have that. Okay, Harrison Phillips, we talked about him. Just an alert football player. Saw a screen, tackled the thing, came out of the stack, tackled it for +2, stole the ball from Patrick after a reception or something, ruled not a fumble. 3rd and 1, he hops over Glasgow, makes the tackle, no gain, gets a hold on Glasgow. That was the 4th penalty of the day, holding that he got on the Lions. Harrison Phillips is a good player, and they desperately needed a good defensive tackle. I mean, they haven't had much since Kevin Williams and the big
Pat
nose tackle,
Williams.
Big Pat, the Williams wall.
That's right.
Jonathan Bullard, he's banged around. He's been with the Bears and I don't know, a team or two more. Atlanta. You know, he's not bad, Tyler. He had a bat. I think he's playing pretty tough. I'm just curious how this guy's hung in the league that long. I really, I've always kind of been intrigued by this guy. He is Jonathan Bullard, a 3rd round pick in 2016, 6'3", 284. He ran good, 4.92, 33 and 5/8 arm. You know, he was known as a 3 technique coming out. Yeah, because he ran good. But now he's just more of a grunt guy, a 5 tech or a stay at home 3 or 2. He's not a bad player. And Tillery, also who's banged around. I don't know who their D line coach is, but they're getting a lot of mileage out of those 3 guys, and they don't really have depth there either. Okay, on the outside, a sack by Grenard against Decker in 2.7, forced a fumble. Then he set up a sack with a spin against Decker, and he was really tough at the point of attack. He's a good player. Van Ginkel, unblocked, got a sack. Tackle for loss, -4 on a bubble. The guy's, he smells stuff out. He's like Anzalone. He had a hurry on an up against Awasika, and he got a sack against Glasgow on a stunt, 3.5, forced a fumble. Good player. I mean, those are 2 really good free UFA acquisitions. Really good. All right, they don't have Cashman, kind of the green dot guy who's been running their defense, but Pace, the little 2nd-year guy, is back from injury. So Pace starts, plays all 57 snaps. Roughing the passer early, hit Goff low. He missed Montgomery in the backfield and ended up to be an 8-yard gain. Did not look good on that he scored on a 37-yard fumble recovery. And he slipped Laporta a bad block and got a hit one time. So, I don't know. I mean, I like Cashman a lot more than Pace, but he was okay. And then Grugier Hill didn't play that much as the other backer. So let's look at the secondary, Tyler. I thought Murphy struggled. Gilmore wasn't great either. Bynum had that horrible missed tackle.
Gilmore fell down on a touchdown to Cleve
Yeah.
Raymond.
Yep. Yeah. Metellus, he got a forced fumble, a punch out on that Montgomery, forced the play there. Um, Harrison Smith was a non-factor. Amazingly enough, I don't have one thing about the guy. Nothing ever happened with him. And then the special teams, Reichard, the rookie, he hit from 57, 42, and 48. Touchbacks, all seven of his kickoffs. Right, he's not a great punter. I think he's the worst in the division. Asamoah, the third-year linebacker, diagnosed that fake punt and messed that up. And Akers, the new running back, Cam Akers, the trade from Houston, he was terrible on kickoff returns, bad decisions, and then he got benched doing that. So that's the end of Detroit and the Vikings. The rematch should be really good at Ford Field.
Great stuff. Bob McGinn, appreciate that. Nothing to add. Can't wait for the rematch. And yeah, I mean, the Lions, they're down several players, and we'll see how they kind of evolve. But I think
Yep.
Hawkinson and Blake Cashman, I mean, those were two big losses for the Vikings as well. Cashman, the green dot in the middle of that defense. I mean, he's the one getting the calls, playing that chess match in the middle of the field, plays, with a few screws loose, kind of like his coordinator. I mean, they're one and the same. So that was a huge loss in my opinion. So to have him back out there against the Packers, against the Vikings, against the Bears will be big. Shall we
So,
transition, Bob McGinn?
so we got another game coming down to the last second and another field goal and what were they, both 2-point games? I think so.
Mhm.
All right. So, Tyler, yeah, it's a very important win for Green Bay. I mean, they all are. You're only playing 17 of them. So I'm never going to minimize a win. But like I've spent my whole life trying to analyze how good these teams are based on how they played. And I see Green Bay, they've won three in a row. But Tyler, they've played three decimated teams. And themselves, they have almost no injuries. I mean, that's just the facts of the matter. So I'm not, yeah, I picked this team to win the Super Bowl, but I mean, I'm not feeling any better than them than I was after they lost that close game to the Vikings. The Rams didn't have Nakua, didn't have Cup. Their whole line was just a train wreck. Arizona, remember all those missing people they had?
Hmm.
We talked about that, seven or eight. And now Houston, they're down eight starters, seven on defense, and Nico Collins, their biggest threat. I think he's better than Diggs now on offense. So in Green Bay, who are they down? They're down Devontae Wyatt, Luke Musgrave, backup
Marshawn
guys,
Lloyd.
situation subs, but they're not down anybody.
Right.
They had nobody hurt in this game. That's how you win. And they took care of business, not by a lot over these teams, but they won. Were they impressive? No. Not against what they were facing, but who really cares? Any thoughts on the pack starting out, T, before we go to the O?
Just rousing praise. Down
I
CJ.
just I gotta
Jay
be
Stroud didn't
real,
throw for
T.
100 yards. I mean, defense looked really good. I mean, you'll get into it.
We'll get to that.
We can't
But
just kind of, it's not like they just eked out a win over, Gardner Minshew or trying to think of an old NFC Central reference, you know,
Houston
Jim
didn't have
Miller,
anybody. They're banged up. They're playing with garbage at inside backer and
Dan
all that
Orlovsky,
cornerback. I mean, the Ross guy cost him the game. He gave up a million completions. Who is this guy? D'Angelo Ross, a street free agent. I've never heard of that player.
I
He got
appreciate your milk toast, and takes
all
on
right.
that. That's why people listen. Hey, it's
The
real.
guy
It's
who
real. I
really
mean, all these
impressed
teams are
me,
banged up. All these teams are like, look at the Giants. They can't function offensively without Andrew Thomas. Like, what? You lose the wrong guy at the wrong spot, it can kill you.
all right. The guy who impressed me a lot, Romeo Dobbs. Oh, he played well in this game, Tyler. first, so he catches 8 balls, 4 against Ross, 3 against really a good corner in Stingley, and 1 against that good nickelback Petrie. Runs it in very quick for his size and man coverage. There was a lot of man coverage. Made a nice low catch. At the end of that game, very tough catch with I can't remember. Ross was all over him.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
strong
huge.
hands.
Yeah. It made it from 44, not 51, 44 for the new kicker. Dobbs was really good. Played 48 snaps. Impressive. Whew. On the other spectrum was Jaden Reed. What a terrible game he had. I mean, he dropped a swing pass. He drops a 45-yard bomb before half. Third and run runs the end around. It wasn't blocked well, but he fails to gain. Gains 4 on a motion flip. That's the worst I've ever seen him play. Melton, only 8 snaps, but third and 5. He lines up as an X. They have enough confidence in this guy to put him out as the X by himself on the left, bump and run against this Ross guy. He beats him on a really tough route, gain of 8, first down Green Bay. Impressive for, what is he, your number 5 receiver? I mean, I think they have more confidence in Melton than they do really in Christian Watson. He plays 31 snaps. I don't know if they trust him or what. He gets 2 targets, catches 1 for 9. What is he, just a play action deep threat? Is that about, I just don't know about his routes and his assignments, his precision. I'm not sure. And then Wicks made a nice diving catch, 30-yard touchdown, beat Ross on that up when they were quick to the line of scrimmage, trying to beat a replay review. Hell of a play. Wicks can do some things. Tight end Kraft played 55 out of 58 snaps. 95% for a tight end. That's tough. Quick flat over there, runs over Stingley, gains an extra 9. And then that touchdown pass on 3rd and 4. What a throw, what a catch. Amazing. Seam, lunging, hands, extended, body control. Well, I guess Kraft's really might be the real deal here, Tyler. He has to play all this stuff. Musgrave came in with a lot more pub, larger school player, and it's been all Kraft after a year and a half. Guy's a heck of a weapon. Would you take him over TJ Hawkinson? I don't know.
Boy,
Maybe.
I want to see which TJ Hawkinson returns. I mean, he was really good
Would you take
after that
Kraft?
trade.
Would you take Kraft over Laporta?
Right now,
These are
yeah.
these all NFC North things are going to be coming up in like 2 weeks, Tyler.
I mean, one of the scouts was comparing him to Rob Gronkowski to you in your
That
series.
was Kraft.
Kraft.
Was it? I forgot that.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, for them to double up at that position of need, uh,
Let's look at
very,
Kraft.
very smart. Similar to kind of like Ron Wolf back when he drafted all those corners, right? Antoine Edwards, Fred Vincent, and then it was Mike McKenzie in the third that hit.
Mhm.
You can't just assume, okay, we took this position high. That's the guy that's going to fill the need. Musgrave has been inconsistent, injured, but they get Kraft, what, a couple rounds later, and it's worked out.
So he missed on the tight end from A&M. What the heck was that guy's name? Like 2021 or
DeGuara?
2020, third round pick maybe. But you look it up, Ty. But then he comes back with Kraft, 6'4.5", 254, ran 4.73, 27 on the test, 23 on the bench. That was the best among the tight ends that year. He's a fourth-year junior. Who was that tight end?
Well, DeGuara was, yeah, he was Cincinnati in the third round in 2020. Um, are you thinking of Amari Rogers, the
No,
wide
the tight
receiver?
end. I got her here now, T.
Oh, Jay Sternberger in
Yeah, yeah,
2019.
right.
Oh yeah, and he was a third round pick. So they've taken their swing. So and just 2 years ago, Musgrave he was second round. 42nd overall. Yeah, Kraft was just the next round, 78. So it wasn't 2 rounds later. It was the very next
So
round.
he might have missed on Musgrave. We don't know yet, but we can certainly say he hit on Tucker Kraft. That's for damn sure. Okay, the offensive line. Um, well, that's a hell of a pass rush with Anderson and Danielle Hunter. I mean, they get after it, man. And Houston gave him a real challenge. Um, Inside, they're not nearly as good, but those guys aren't bad. That veteran Tim Tuttle, he's been to a lot of games. He had himself a day, man. Okay, let's look left to right. Walker, you know, yeah, he's kind of a semi-dancing bear. I mean, he's not Christian Darrisaw, but he's 6'5" and a half, 324. His arms are average, 33 and 5/8, 11 test score. He doesn't play with a lot of awareness and a lot of great effort. You don't see him finishing, but he's a pretty darn good pass blocker, Tyler. We can say that after a year and a half. He gave up a knockdown to Anderson. I mean, this happens. This Anderson's unreal. And he gave up a sack. Guy edged him on 3rd and 3, 3.0. He looked kind of bad bending his waist on the play. He got beat, but it doesn't happen often. Now let's go to Zach Tom. You know how much I love Tom. Well, he had kind of a rough day. I mean, this is against elite, two of them, elite edge guys, and he wasn't great. Now, initially I wrote down, man, he's got a really good kick step, and he was taking care of Anderson early. Then in a run play, he got stuffed by Settle for -1. Gives up a knockdown to Hunter on an interception thrown by Love. He gave up a bad run. He didn't get to the linebacker. He gives up a flush to Hunter. And then he gives up a sack to Hunter. He got edged 3.3. He's played a lot better than that. So now let's go inside. They gave the rookie Morgan 13 snaps in the first half. And it was so bad, Tyler, we never saw him in the second half. That was a disappointing performance. He missed and whiffed early against Kurt Hinish, undrafted guy in 20. I don't really know Hinish. Then he gets solo blocked by Hinish at the point of attack. There was a carry for 13 by Mixon. He gives up a knockdown to Khalil Davis, that Nebraska player, I think. And then he has a bad run against Settle. He was shed really quick. Well, they pulled the pin at that point and said, that's it. And they went back to Ryan for the rest of the game. Ryan was solid. He got edged by Settle on a sack, 2.4. Settle was unreal, Tyler. You know this player. This guy, he was hustling and playing out of his mind. It was a great effort by John Settle. He must be like 30 years old.
He
But
didn't
other than that,
last here in
Ryan,
Buffalo. Like he
yeah, yeah,
didn't play
he's been
much,
all
didn't
over.
last. Yeah.
And then Jenkins, good as always. And Ryan, I got nothing bad. Another good performance there. I mean, those guys are doing a good job for those A-gap runs by Josh Jacobs and Wilson. All right, that's enough there. Let's go to the running backs. They cut Beck today, the fullback, waved him off a practice squad. He had been a game day activation for like 3 games in a row. He only played 5 snaps, but I've seen, maybe not, can't say I've seen enough, but I thought he was really a ho-hum blocker, and they waived him today. Just not good enough. So they'll have to get another fullback if they want him. Who knows? Josh Jacobs, 39 snaps. Hit in the backfield early by Hinish, spuns off, gains 4. I mean, a heck of a play. Explosive, nice vision, gain of 13. Subtle cuts inside. Then he ripped one off for 27 that was really well blocked. They throw him a pass out in the flat, and he makes Hansen, the backup backer who had played 11 snaps before he had to start and go the distance. This one, Jake Hansen. Hansen never even touched him, 8-yard touchdown. He crosses the field. They throw a check down to him on the left, and he has so much athletic ability. He's able to come across the field looking for an opening, skips out of 3 tackles and gains 5. And then he picked up Hansen on a blitz pickup and hurt his arm a little bit. Wilson, 3rd and 3. He's out in the flat on a swing pass. Murray, the safety from Minnesota, and I think he's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I remember doing a story on him like 8 years ago. 3rd and 3, he gains 5, makes Murray miss. And then it was a heck of a play. So that's it on the backs. Now let's go to Jordan Love. We'll wrap up the offense team.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. So Love won this game, man. I mean, at the end, he's 144 left. He's down by one. He's got one timeout. He's starting from the 30. One, two, three, four, five, six, 8 plays. He goes 4 of 7 for 39. I mean, nothing real great, just a winning performance, and that's great enough. And he won the game. Now we can go through this thing. So that's the bottom line. This guy was a winning quarterback, and they're 5-2. He threw that great touchdown pass to Kraft. Wow, what a throw!
Man, the velocity.
Risky, dangerous, yeah, whatever. These are great quarterbacks with great arms, and they can do these superhuman things, you know. And he's got a big wing, and he did it. Okay, how many picks he had? He had two. First possession, he didn't see Petrie dropping into that route. First possession cost him a pick, so it's a bad read. And then the other pick, he was airing it out deep. Just he got hit on the toss by Hunter. He was throwing it to Watson, and Bullock picked it off. I don't know. I mean, you can't fault. Can you partially fault his decision, the throw? I guess all that. Okay, two picks. Now, I guess the most concerning thing is there was 4 other times that he was in harm's way, and you don't want to be in harm's way 4 more times. So let's look at him. Um, I wrote cavalier with the ball. I mean, he's trying to throw it away on a knockdown, and the ball's near 2 defenders. You're getting knocked down. That ball, you got to make sure it's not going, get it out of harm's way. And he didn't, and he caught a break. Then he fired into a tight sideline to Dobbs. He was inside his 10-yard line on the run to the right, fired it a bit back inside the Cardinal sin. He was kind of lucky there too. Then on 3rd and 27, he didn't have to do this. And he threw a tight out on the money. It was kind of high risk. I think he got about 12 yards on the play, but I know he's fearless and I admire that, but and now number 4, the first play of the winning drive, he threw in the middle to Dobbs at the 50. Linebacker got a pretty good zone drop on the thing. The ball was tipped, and Murray was, a yard away from picking off that ball and ending the game. 4 times, man. 2 picks, 4 times. What, 3 touchdown passes, I guess? Yeah. So you take it from there, Tyler. I can't really wrap him up right now. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'd prefer the quarterback who is going to be a risk taker, right? Like especially a young quarterback who's got the balls to attempt some of these throws like that touchdown the Tucker Craft. It's not even a thought in his brain if he's patting the ball and playing it safe and doesn't have that in him. It's almost like he's got Brett Favre's voice in one ear and Aaron Rodgers' voice in the other ear. Those quarterbacks could not have been more different in how they viewed the value of a turnover, right? Like, I mean, Favre could be down by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and you knew that there was a good chance he could get back into that game, or they could be up by 2 touchdowns, and there was a chance they could give the game away. Aaron Rodgers with a lead, he's not going to give that game away. Aaron Rodgers down by a couple scores, even at his peak, very rarely is he going to get the Packers back in that game. I think that's why in the playoffs you see what you saw against San Francisco at Lambeau Field when they're the number 1 seed and it's lethargic. Same thing against Detroit the next year. It just doesn't have that oomph in that moment to attempt that throw. So give me that. I want that out of Jordan Love. But, it doesn't just wash over the mistakes. I mean, these were the kind of throws that can cost you big time. And, it did in LA with that crazy interception he threw in his own end zone. But that's I would love to be a fly on the wall in those film sessions, right, with Matt LaFleur and Tom Clements. Like, what do they say? What's Tom Clements saying to him? Clements coached both Favre and Rodgers. Like, where is he trying to nudge Jordan Love at this point of his career? I'd love to know.
Um, I can't remember what the scout said. Was there much talk about Love putting, riding the rapids with taking chances? Do you remember that?
His last year at Utah State is when so many starters had graduated, they had injuries. It was a chaotic pocket
That's
down and
right.
down. I think he threw 17 interceptions that last year. But in a way, I think that Green Bay was impressed by his play that year because it was madness all around. I mean, this wasn't Tua at Alabama dropping back 5 stars all over the place, right? Like receivers 5 yards open from the nearest DB. It was the exact opposite. So the fact that he kind of had to survive, I would think was viewed as a strength. But yeah, I mean, he turned the ball over. So
Mhm.
that stuff's in him.
So, all right. So let's go to the defense. So, CJ Stroud, 10 of 21 for 86, sacked 4 times. It's pretty good. So, Halfley's been there 7 games, and it's been a real success so far. You know, it's like, well, it's not as much as early Dom Capers was fantastic, taking the ball away constantly for 2 years. Early dead Ed Donatel was fantastic too, taking the ball away a million times. Fritz Shermer was great the whole time. Ray Rhodes was really good those 2 years. But I'm trying to think of early defensive coordinators. Bob Slowick was horrible. Bates was okay. Okay. Um, who we have? Mike Pettin and who was last year? The guy from the Rams.
Joe Barry.
Yeah. All right. So right now, Halfley's got it going. Now, I thought it was loud at Lambeau Field, just sensing from Stroud struggled. I saw him struggle against Michigan in his two defeats. And all right, I don't know. I mean, he had a great rookie year. I still got to see more on this guy. So let's look at the Packer
Hmm.
defensive line. Slayton, 30 snaps. He does get high, Tyler. So how big is Slayton? 6'4"? 6'4", 330. Now, I didn't think he played very good. And then yesterday, what do? They elevate Jonathan Ford from the practice squad. Now, Ford is a seventh round pick by the Pack in 22. I think it's Miami. He's 6'5", 341 coming out. He ran 5'49". 5'49". So he's not going to be coming out of the stack on screens. He's got really short arms, 12 on the test, but he's a space eater. And maybe I thought they were high on Slayton. I don't think one game with Mixon kind of running up the gut would really change all that. But they're not stopping the run real good, and maybe they think Ford can help them. I don't know. All right. Brooks, man, he came out of the stack on a screen and messed that thing up good. The guy from Bowling Green, he hustles like a kid from Bowling Green in the MAC. He really gives effort. Kenny Clark, I mean, he got handled by the left guard, Kenyon Green, the former first round pick, early. But then he came back. He killed Green, carry for -1. He shed Green in the fourth quarter, -1. He beat Shaq Mason, the right guard, -2. So he really turned it on. Kenny did. They're starting to play Colby Wooden, and he had to run stuff. He beat Green. Green did not play well. So that's about it on their defensive linemen. They miss Wyatt in the pass rush. He's the one player that they really miss. Yeah, Halfley's got everybody at his disposal. I mean, he's got everybody. He's got all this depth. He's got all these secondary people, all these edge guys, D linemen. He's got it all at his disposal. More than likely, they'll run into a few injuries, and then we'll be able to evaluate him better. It's easy right now. All right, let's look at so there's one development on the edge. We've been talking about Preston Smith not playing well, right? Well, of those four guys, he had the fewest snaps, and that's never happened in his career. The snap counts were Gary 38, Enigbari 36, Van Ness 35, Preston 28. Um, yeah, we've talked about it. He has not been playing well, run or pass. So he jumps offside in the red zone. They run at him with a tight end solo blocking him, a gain of 10. Next play gets pancaked on a 1 yard touchdown. Came back in the fourth quarter. Maybe he was really inspired and he stuffed the tight end and tackled Mixon for -1. But hey, if he's your fourth edge rusher, you got a hell of a D. You got a hell of a lot of depth. All right, let's go to Enigbare. He can play defensive end like they're asking him to do and stand and get down there. I don't know what he weighs. He was 258 at the combine, 271 at pro day. I have no idea what he is. I think he's 265 at least. He gets a knockdown. He was unblocked. He gets a hurry against Laramie Tunzel, the really good left tackle. He got a flush against Jack Mason, and he had a bad offside penalty on 3rd and 5.5. Rashawn Gary, he was okay. He had a flush on the 2-point over center against Kenyon Green. He got a sack against no one when right tackle Titus Howard fell on his ass. He he got a gimme sack. The guy falls down, Tyler, right in front of him. And then he got a knockdown on I can't read my writing, on a bootleg when he showed really good speed. And Van Ness, I don't know. I expected more. I thought he'd be a breakthrough player. I'm not going to say I dropped the ball on my 5 breakthroughs, Tyler, but he was on that list. I'm not dropping the ball on that one yet, okay? Go, Lucas. All right, he missed Mixon in the backfield. He got a neutral zone penalty in the red zone, and he killed a tight end one time for a tackle for loss. All right, now the backers. So Quay Walker goes out with a concussion, right, after 13 snaps. All right, so the big revelation. So the snap counts. Eric Wilson gets 57, McDuffie 44, and Cooper 41. So you think I'm going to say Cooper. No, it's Eric Wilson, the ex-Viking. The guy, he played a great game, Tyler. Eric is 6'1", 230, ran 4.52. That's a hell of a time. He's been in the league 8 years, 23 on the test, vert of 39.5. I can see that. He's very athletic out there. He's got really short arms, which hurts him, 30.25, whereas Cooper's at 34 inches. He's got 4 inches longer arms, Cooper does. All right. Right away, Eric was slow to the flattened coverage. Then he missed a tackle. But then he got a hit on a screen for -2. He got a sack out of an A-gap blitz, 2.7. Beautiful. Split the left guard and center. On 3rd and 5, he mugs the A-gap, drops out of there, and made a great break up against the tight end. Hell of a play. Then he gets a cross blitz, one of the old classic Dom Capers cross blitz. Got it on 3rd and 7 and 2.6. Then he got a huge hit on Mixon later on a gain of 2. He played great. McDuffie, not as good. He overran on a cutback, gain of 9. He missed Mixon once. There had to be a missed call. I don't know what happened. It was a gain of 32, and then on Mixon, not sure what happened on that play. And then Cooper, okay. Tyler, he's leggy, right? I mean, he's 6'2", 229. He's got this great speed, 4.55. We know about all that. Long arms. All right. He gets leggy and he gets knocked back when he doesn't get low. I mean, it's even more noticeable than Quay Walker getting knocked back, but he just gets shoved back, man, and the gain's 7 or 8. But then he does things. He beat Tunsil wide one time, blew up the tight end, -3. And then under 2 minutes left, when they're trying to at least get a couple of yards, set up that field goal or maybe get a first down, he drills Mixon for -2, and then he hits him again for -2. I mean, massive plays. That's why you take a stud athlete like that in the second round. All right, that's enough on the linebackers. So was Quay Walker missed? No, he was not. Now let's go to the secondary. So I don't know anything about the injury report, but they had a changing of the guard here. They benched Stokes. So they started Kason Nixon at left corner, and he plays all 64. Alexander played 63. They benched Bullard as the safety, or you could say that they put him at nickelback, 29 snaps. They benched Valentine, who had been there. Yeah, he had only 2 snaps. Stokes played 8. I think these are all good moves, man. Case on Nixon, there was so much pressure that Stroud could, and he doesn't have Nico Collins. He's got Diggs, but he doesn't. Dell's just a little guy. I'm not impressed. And Nixon, we know he's going to get beat. He's not a starting level corner. At least I don't think he is. He has not shown that in 2.5 years. But he got beat early for a touchdown, and Dell dropped the ball. He got a PI, a 2-point. He's a real physical hitter, unlike the corner on the other side. But Nixon's physical, and he's going to give his all. I don't know if he can cover T. I just don't know. He wasn't even drafted. We'll see. All right, now Jair Alexander.
The corner on the other side.
Tyler, I'm trying, there's coach killers, right? This guy might be a team killer. This is a really good team. And they got a bunch of young guys, I think, who are malleable. And I think they're probably pretty easy to coach at this point. Not a whole lot of them are making a lot of money. And I think you can see the crowd just senses they love this team right now. You can just pick up on it. The Rogers Paul is gone. They have new life. The crowd was unbelievable noise in this game on an unbelievable warm mid-October afternoon. And then this, before the game, talking it up, talking after plays he's not even involved in, taunting, whatever. So here comes Stroud at him, right, on the scramble. Now, he doesn't want to go down and hit Stroud low. Stroud weighs 225. So he kind of semi-clothesline, shoulder to the neck and head area. He's lucky he didn't get a 15-yard penalty because I don't know how he avoided head-to-head contact, but he did, to his credit. So then there's a coach in the Green Bay bench area pushing him away from, the other Texan player, Stroud. Meanwhile, he just floats on the periphery whenever there's a ball in his area. Just watch him, He doesn't want in on the action. Let somebody else do that. But at the end of the game, when they tried to complete that ball down there and about the 10-yard line, that guy broke up he didn't break it up, but he had really tight coverage on that little sideline comeback to Dell. And because the coverage was so tight, Stroud had to throw the ball further to the outside than he wanted. So you pay for that. What is he, the highest paid corner in the business? Is that true? I don't know. But Tyler, he made a play right there. And the Packers are going to live with it. You can call me old. I don't know. I've been in a million locker rooms. I think I still know what it takes to win. And he ain't my guy. Okay. Safety, Bullard, he had a good hit on the quick screen. He had a hit for +1. He's from Georgia. Can he be another Brian Branch? We don't know yet. But Bullard's got a lot of the same qualities. How fast did that guy run? 5'10 and a half, 199, 4.45. Branch ran 4.58. This guy ran 4.45. He did not take the test, by the way. All right, McKinney got a sack off the edge on a double-A look. Hafley's really pushing that Mike Zimmer double-A stuff. Got the sack in 2.2. He missed a tackle. I want to see more of McKinney. I just don't know if he's playing better than he did with the Giants, but there was too many red flags out of there. I just got to see more. Now Williams, the rookie from Oregon, makes his first start, right? Yeah, plays every snap, all 64. Okay. I think he gave up that 28-yard pass to the tight end early. He knifed in and hit Mixon for +2. He sifted through on that 2-pointer and tackled Mixon. I mean, the guy played well. There's no downside. Now let's go to the special teams and wrap it up. All right, so they cut Narvison after LaFleur, and I don't blame him. He was backing the guy every step of the way. You have to. You can't let on. You can't wreck a guy's kicker's confidence. And then when he finally missed his fifth field goal, he's just flat gone. Okay. So McManus is on the street, partially because he was involved with the steward, airline attendants. Um, I'm sure other people had him high on their emergency list. There's been some kicker movement around the league first couple of weeks, I believe. Two or three teams changed kickers. Nobody else would touch him. Um, I don't know. He's cleared by the league for whatever that is. All right, I don't know. It's risky business. Okay, he's peering into that mid-afternoon 2:55 p.m. sun. We all have seen that sun at Lambeau, Tyler, right? And it's tough. And there's shadows over that field. I mean, he's looking into that thing. They call a timeout. He hits the first one. He's got a 45-yarder to win or lose the game. He's only made 6 game winners in a decade with the Broncos in rarefied air. And he drills it. First game winner in what, 5 years? And he drilled it. What an acquisition. What a moment. Takes the Lambeau leap. It was huge. It gets him a victory. Would Narveson have made it? Hell no. His kickoffs were okay. Whalen, guy's a hell of a punter, Tyler. Man, late in the game, hang times 520, 489, 490, nets of 62, 55, and 48. I've hardly ever seen the guy hit a bad punt. All right, the special teams beyond those two, bad, real bad. Versace has just done an average job since he's been there. That's the way he was in all his early years. He averaged in the Goslin ratings. His average was 14th in the league. Opening kickoff, Nixon returns at 39, holding penalty on the linebacker Aaron Mosby, defensive end, I guess. Enigbari, unsportsmanlike conduct on a field goal rush. Nixon, he did not take charge on that punt, and the ball bangs off of Ballantyne, recovered by the Texans. Why wasn't Reed back there? I've never trusted Nixon on punts. He's a hell of a kickoff guy, but that's a different ball game. If he makes the fair catch at the 14, get up there and take charge. Now the hang was 5-3-2 I had. It was up there forever, but that's your job. Take charge. Clear people out of there. Partially it's on Ballantyne for getting too close, but still. Damian Pierce had a 42-yard kickoff return. Williams and Anderson missed tackles. Nixon did have a 32-yard kick return. All right, now Orzech snapper, long snapper. Now that special teams coach told me in August that the guy was all over the park last year, and he had analyzed Green Bay tape. Now we talked about it last year. He never had a horrific snap, I don't believe, but he was shaky. So he puts his first or second punt snap in this game on the ground and gets it off beautifully. And then on the final game-winning boot, that low snap that Whalen made a great hold on. What happens to Orzik? Great move by Gutekunst. He fires the guy. He's out. I don't know who their long snapper is. This guy was so shaky last year, and now halfway through this year, you got a new kicker, so there's no timing involved with the next holder. He's only had Orzik for a week, 5 days. Send him out. Now it's up to them to get somebody better, but that can't be that hard. It's not going to be that easy, but it won't be that hard. And then Reed also, he fielded a punt, a 66-yard punt, 1 yard deep, returns it to the 4. All right, so the special teams were kind of brutal, but McManus and Whalen, the specialists there, win it. Packers 24, Titans 22, T.
Hell of a breakdown, as always, Bob. You know what just kind of crossed my mind? Covering those Packer teams from whenever it was, 2011 through 2015. If there was, it was a small quirk to the way Ted Thompson, rest his soul, managed the roster. I mean, he did an unbelievable job. Obviously, Packers Hall of Fame, won a Super Bowl. There were so many moments when a player would screw up in a game, even a win, and there wasn't that accountability. You know, somebody at the end of the roster that should have gotten released. the next day. Kept his job for a week too long, 2 weeks too long, 3 weeks too long. Remember how bad like the safety position was for stretches? I mean, gosh, I'm thinking Jaron McMillan and MD Jennings. I mean, they had some rough spots. I mean, even on the edge before they drafted all those guys, like Vic So'oto had a nice preseason game. Give him that. But like players like that were just on the field. I don't know if any examples come to mind for you. I just feel like Ted would kind of hang on to a guy maybe a little too long. And this would be a good trend, I think, for Brian Gutekunst. Now, you got to kind of pick and choose your spots, right? Like maybe somebody made a mistake and it's not necessarily going to happen again for however they made that mistake at whatever position. But I'm totally with you on the long snapper and the kicker. Also, to answer your question, Jair Alexander is the third highest paid cornerback in the NFL, 21 mil per year. At the time of the signing, his contract accounted for 10.09% of the Packers' salary cap. He only trails Patrick Surtain at 24 mil a year and Jalen Ramsey at 24.1 mil per year. This is per Spot Track. Michael Giannetti, Buffalo's own, runs Spot Track, which is funny little side note. I took the kids, me and my wife, we took the kids to a corn maze a couple weeks ago, and I ran into Mr. Spock Track himself. He had his family out there at the same exact time. And we both got lost in this crazy ass maze. I don't know how families don't get lost. It was one of those. So Mr. Me, Jair Alexander, that's what you called him last year. Keep an eye on it, folks. McGinn memory. Can you bring us home?
Sure. Okay. This one came into my mind when I was watching that beautiful, well, it's combination grass and synthetic turf now at Lambeau Field, but it looked magnificent on this, what is it, 75-degree day, unreal weather. And but Tyler, that turf always didn't look that good, okay? And one of the reasons was it was used by more teams than the Green Bay Packers. A lot of people find this really hard to believe, but I was there and I saw those things. They were used by high school teams in Green Bay. Here's the deal. Now, this stadium, it's owned by the city of Green Bay and the Green Bay Brown County Professional Football Stadium District. Now, it's operated and maintained by the team, but that's been like that from the beginning. And so, four Green Bay public schools, East and Preble on the east side of the Fox River, west and southwest on the west side of the Fox River. I joined the Press Gazette in December of '75 in Green Bay. And I was covering high school a lot. And then I got the prep beat for 3 years, 76, 7, and 8. And there was only one football stadium for those four teams. Green Bay East had a stadium. That's Old City Field where the Packers played until 1957.
Right.
Okay, you know that place, Tyler.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the home of the East Red Devils. And Green Bay Preble played their home games there too because they never had a football field till about 25 years ago. I believe I can't think of the name of it. So the schedule was set up so East would be home one Friday night and then on the road the next Friday night, and East and Preble. But on the west side, Green Bay West on Dousman Avenue, Shawano Avenue, excuse me. Yeah, between Shawano and Dousman. They had an old field that went back to the teens or the 20s with a tight track around it, cinders, but it was deemed too tight, and they didn't have any bleachers there in later years, so it was just deemed to be too tight and unusable. I don't know when they stopped using that field for games. And Green Bay Southwest never had a field. They opened in '65, and they got Dahlin Family Stadium in about, I'd say 25 years ago, 30 years ago, when Bryce Pop later became coach of the Trojans. So what's the deal? There's no field for the West Side teams. The two high schools had no field. So the city fathers and the school officials, school superintendent got together, And hey, they own Lambeau Field. It was City Stadium at the time. So they started playing the great, great East West game, which dates back probably 110 years now. That used to attract 10, 12,000 people. I mean, it's one of the great events in the state and the city every year. They played at Lambeau in 57, the first year of Lambeau, the East West game was. Okay, I can't tell you much about that for the next 20 years, but when I was covering preps, I covered prep games there, well, probably 5 times at Lambeau on Friday nights. Now, they had lights for exhibition games, but the lights were terrible. So I always, the press box wasn't open. Maybe there'd be 1,500, 2,000 fans at Lambeau. It was surreal, Tyler. It really was. It was like a blue lighting cast. It was just weird lighting. I could hardly see the numbers of the players. It was so bad. I'd be walking the sidelines, you know. So West would play there one Friday night, and then Southwest would play there the next Friday night. The Wildcats and the Trojans. West is best. Okay. And I remember, and the stadium was expanded to 56,000 in 1970. Okay. So I remember going up the ramp on the north end to interview coaches after the game, just walking across the field after I had my clipboard taking notes, you know. And then the buses would be parked kind of back behind where the Packer locker room was in the old stadium. You can't picture that, Tyler. You don't know that. And the buses from the visiting team, you know, they're playing Manitowoc, Sheboygan North, Big Red, Sheboygan South. And so I remember at one time, Gene Bray and Green Bay East, they won a game, and it rained almost the entire game Friday night. And the Pack's going to play on Sunday afternoon on that field. So they didn't have time for interviews, so I follow them back to Baird Street, and I get the players coming off the bus, and Gene Bray, the coach. And one of the players, I'll never forget this, a big defensive tackle. He says, I'm standing there, and he says to a couple of his teammates, man, we really tore that some bitch up tonight, you know. And they were just all laughing. Now, this is like 77. The Packers were really bad then, and they were kind of a laughing stock in town. And these guys just thought it was awesome to have played on that field and have torn it up. And I do remember this, Tyler. I'll close with this. Okay, how did it end? It ended when Green Bay West built a new field on that behind the Shawano Avenue High School called Del Marcel Stadium. They opened that in '79, and they hosted themselves, and I think Southwest played on that field too until Dowling was open. So no more Packer games after about '79. I remember this, going to the visiting locker room sometimes, covering Packer games, 79, 80, 81, and probably 79. And then after about 10 minutes in the visiting locker room down in the south end, you'd come down the tunnel. You'd walk all 120 yards across the field into the Packer locker room at the south end. And I remember going through that field when high school games were still played there. This would be like 3:34 now after the game. The field was just cut up and beat to hell. I mean, it was not NFL ready. People would just be complaining like crazy now. That's 50 years ago. And I would walk across that, you know, your feet would be sinking in, and it just cut up, not just from the Packer game, from the high school games played on there as well. The lights were awful, and the field was in terrible condition. And boy, how good these players have it now. But it was a little bit different, Tyler.
That's
High school
unbelievable.
football on the hallowed ground of Lambeau Field. Strange but true.
I never had a clue. That's surreal. I mean, two thought. I can't imagine being a 16, 17, 18-year old playing at Lambeau, like for your high school team. Like
Yeah.
it's like the two of the best things ever in your head at that point. Like you're playing high school football, which is gonna be, you know, a memory you cherish for decades anyways, and you're playing at Lambeau Field, the hallowed ground, right? Like it's unbelievable. And then I can't imagine how pissed the Packer coaches and players must have been when they
Yeah.
show up on Sunday morning and they're looking at this field like, what the hell? Did they have
But it was all,
groundskeepers that tried their best to like
oh,
fix?
yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. But it was Kentucky bluegrass, you know, it was hard to maintain. They, I mean, a groundskeeper or two were fired by the Packers just because it wasn't up to NFL specs. But one more thing. There used to be an organization of private schools in Wisconsin, maybe 50 or 60 high schools, and they were in the Wisconsin Independent Schools Athletic Association called WISA. That folded about 30 years ago. And that title game, I know it was played at Lambeau at least once. Maybe it was played there several times in early November. So that was another game event played there.
Amazing. Each begin memory better than the last. Thank you so much for sharing that, Bob. That's great. And I'm very jealous because we just played on a big old mud pit at Elkville Central School. If it rained, you just knew you were playing an absolute slop. I mean, I can remember playing Maple Grove and it was just all mud. But as a quarterback, I kind of liked it. We ran the ball so much and we'd, throw it deep as a surprise on teams. So like it was hard for DBs to get their footing in the mud. So we knew it was going to be a 70-yard touchdown if the guy could get a step because just chuck it up to him, run underneath it. They didn't know what was coming. All it took was a little hesitation, thinking it was a run on play action. Not exactly Lynn Dickey and John Brockington and what other players had to deal with Lambeau's field. That's, oh man, it almost sounds like it'd be a TV show. I would watch that show. That'd be great. Wow. All right, that was a lot of fun. 2 hours of NFC North analysis, discussion, banter. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, listening, reading, subscribing. Like we said at the top, we'd love it if you shared it with a friend. That's how we continue to grow everything here at golongtd.com. I'm Tyler Dunn. That's Bob again. Thank you so much, everyone.
Take care.